Enjoy while I show you how to make this adorable penguin. He's life-size and he's cuddly and he looks real, but he's just too cute. He ends up being over 19 inches tall. So let's take a look at a very short, cute little photo shoot of his.
So I wanted to show you what materials we're going to be using for the main backbone of the penguin. I'm going to use just a floral stem from like a hydrangea, the big, nice, tall, heavy wire that's been coated with a thick coating of plastic. So it's really sturdy, but yet you can bend it. And so we'll be using this to attach to the head, which the head I will be using just a regular round foam ball.
But Mom, where do you get such materials of which to make a penguin?
Most of these materials I bought at Walmart. So thank you, my son. And so anyway, then we're going to bend this a little bit backwards for the tail, but the head will be attached here. And then on either side of this little backbone will be these little bricks of foam. Thank you. And they're the hard type of brick foam. They're not a squishy brick foam. They're really styrofoam, nice and hard there. And I got those at Walmart too. They're the tall, skinny ones. And we also bought at Walmart, yes, bushes of flowers. I bought 2 of these.
And they're 97 cents, so they're cheaper than the dollar store, and we got it at Walmart.
Yes, we saved 3 cents per bush.
Yeah.
The reason I want 2 is we're going to just be stripping everything off of it. Eventually it'll look like this. And we'll have 6 little stems, which we will separate in 3 groups of 2 and be curling them. Yes, curling them back to make toes out of them. This will end up being the leg and the foot. So you'll want 2 of them, obviously, 2 feet. And they're little flower bushes, real easy to get. And so once we bend them back and get them all formed, we'll be wrapping them with tape to make them nice and thick. So that'll be your feet. And then the flippers on either side are going to be made of placemats. Now I chose the nice, floppy, heavy, kind of squishy foam placemats, not just the thick plastic ones that are just a piece of plastic. This is more of a squishy foam, but it's nice and heavy, which the flipper would be similar to that in texture. And for the inside bone of the flipper, I'm just going to cut one of these wire hangers in half and use this as the inside skeleton of the flipper.
So, just so you know, for a penguin, anytime is coffee time.
The head of a penguin is like, there's no neck at all. It just goes straight from the head down to the body, so there's very little indentation. So in order to cover up that indentation between the head and the body, I'll be covering it with just a regular tube sock. I'll cut that part off and pull this down over the head to kind of, fill that gap of the neck. And then on top of that, I bought a pair of the little knee highs that you can buy at Walmart. And those I think were 76 cents. And I'll be pulling those down over the sock. The sock will go over this, and then the knee highs will go over that, and that'll smooth it down and make it more of a smooth transition from the head to the body. So the body then is going to be covered, since it's made of foam, I'm going to trim off these hard edges, make it more smooth around, and then I'll be wrapping it with just strips of an old towel. I'm going to take this towel and cut it in strips and be wrapping the body and the head and the neck to make it more squishy and comfy and huggable. And then after all that's done and you have a good shape to your penguin, I bought this really soft white fabric from Walmart's fabric department for the face on down through the neck and the body, and then the underside of the flippers will be coated with this. And I'll probably use a hot glue gun to be able to put that on. Then for the back of the penguin, the back of the head, all the way down the back of the flippers and the tail, is going to be this really stretchy, soft velvet material. It's very soft. But the reason
very
it's stretchy is that you can pull it nice and tight and there won't be a bunch of wrinkles on your penguin. So that'll give it a nice
Yeah,
smooth
she doesn't
texture.
like old penguins.
Anyway,
So we're going to use this box to make the beak out of. Woohoo!
so these are all materials that you should be able to get easily either at Walmart or Hobby Lobby or
Dollar
some-
store or something
Yeah,
like that.
like that. So nice and cheap. But so let's get started.
Okay, so I'm going to start with the head, which is one of the round balls, and because a penguin's head isn't completely round, we are going to take little chunks off the side and then flatten off the bottom a little bit so the bottom will fit flatly on the body, but then the sides of the head will be a little bit indented where the eyes would be. And then here's the body. We're going to put that skeletal wire down and rub it till it makes a groove, and then we're going to take the knife and cut the groove just a little bit deeper. Get out that groove there. That way, when you put the two bricks of the body together around the wire, they'll be nice and tightly held together and the wire will be secure. So then you have the head ball now put onto the top of the wire where the head, see where the beak pokes through there, and we're going to then sandwich that in between the two body blocks. And then we'll be securing that together nice and tight, but with the groove there it'll all fit nice and snug, and the flat bottom of the head fits nice and flat against the body part. And so then we will now secure that with tape, and I used a tape that you would use for like painting. Oh, and by the way, put the head a little bit forward on the body because for some reason little penguins like to have their head kind of leaning forward. So now we're going to smooth over the gap between the head and the shoulders so that it doesn't have a big old lump sticking out of the shoulder area, and I kind of carve that in a little bit there to get a smooth line from the head down to the body. And so just be carving on that there. And here's the feet, by the way. We did tape those little sections of feet. We had folded them in half, and now we're pulling them in half again because they were just a little bit too long. So I'm going to squeeze those in as tight as I can get them so they look like all one nice big fat little foot. And then we'll be taping them again to secure them nice as little fat toes. There I am taping them again to make sure they're nice and tight. Wrap that tape as tight as you can get it around those little toes. And then it's the same tape that I'm using to wrap the body so that the two body pieces stay together and the wire stays firm inside there and it won't be moving around. And there won't be a gap between the body parts. So just tape it all the way around to where the tape goes across itself so it doesn't tend to come undone, because tape on top of foam doesn't stick that well, but when you have the tape stuck to itself, it sticks nice and tight. So I did one mainly around the top part, and now I'm doing one closer to the bottom to have it nice and tight the whole way down. And then our next step is to do the legs. Now the legs, I use the other ball of foam and cut it in half, and then I stuck a wire, a thick wire like another flower stem, inside the leg part and then stuck it inside the body so that that's where we're going to be sticking your little legs and feet in. You'll notice I already have the wires for the flippers stuck in, but don't put them in yet. I put it in too early. Anyway, moving on from the legs, which I'm going to pull that one down a little lower, we're going to go on to the stuffing, and also to cover the head from the head to the body to cover up the neck area. I'm going to use that. There's my little leg. I'm going to stick it right in there. I'm going to use this stuffing around the head, but I'm also going to put that sock, that tube sock over there. I cut the bottom off of it and put it over the head. Stuffed it with stuffing and wrapped the stuffing in pieces of towel, and then I taped the towel in place. And then I had the little feet stuck in there where the legs were. And so now I'm going to put this knee high over it to smooth it down even more, because the nice cushy stuffing and the towel are nice and cuddly. So we smooth it all on there before we put the wire that will be the skeleton to the flippers in. So we'll stick that in next.
This is what it looks like inside my mouth. Look. What?
So So now what we're going to do is we're going to take a piece of paper, we're going to measure that frame for the flipper, and we're going to fold over that placemat so that we can take that shape of the flipper that we want and cut it out of the placemat. So obviously the placemat piece should be bigger than the wire frame underneath it, and then we'll just be hot gluing those on, one in front and one in back on each side. And then we take that same shape that we cut out of the paper for the flipper, and we're going to cut it out of material. So we lay the nice sides together, and we'll cut about 5/8 inch around the edge so that we can sew it together and then slip it right on those little flippers that were glued on. And then we're going to work on the beak. We're going to tear open this box, and we're going to open it to the place that doesn't have any kind of other colors on it. Originally I was going to have the beak orange, that's why I chose this box. So I cut out one piece, and then I cut out another piece just like it, and you'll have that little bent part on the end to fit on his face, but you want one inside the other, so it's a double thickness. And then that little white part that's bent up on his face is where you're going to attach it. And then I didn't like the edges showing, so I'm using an orange ribbon to cover up those edges where I'll be gluing those two together. And then around the very tip of the beak, you kind of fold it over nice and neat and hot glue it all together. And then you stick a wire inside that bent up part right there at the fold line. And that way you can take those wires and stick it into the styrofoam ball that is his head, and it'll keep it nice and tight. The next step then would be to cover the body, the front of the body, with that white material and fold under the edges so it has a nice clean smooth edge, and then pull it really tight all the way around the back so that it'll be nice and tight. Poke a little hole then where the legs go and insert those through the material, and then you'll be gathering up where the tail is up into a little point. But right now I just glued it all nice and smooth so that it's got the beak sticking out there. Then we're going to cover the little feeties, if you don't like the look of the masking tape, with a nice organza pink ribbon. Tight and glue it as you go. Then you'll want to start putting on the black material, and when you do, fold down your edges, stretch it nice and tight around the back, and just stretch it all the way up over the head and tuck it in nice. Penguins I researched had those little parts right in front of the flip. There's my son again. And now I'm going to work on the eyes, and I'm using floral wire, pretty thick, and probably about a 6-inch piece. And I'm going to take that very tip and bend it like an L so that the bead can be slid on right down to that itty bitty L, and that last part of the wire will lay flat against the bead. And then I will take a pin and I'll put it in first to see exactly where I want the eye. Then wherever the pin looks, oh, there's my kitty cat helping me out. Take that pin back out so that way I know exactly where I want to stick in the floral wire with the bead on it, and I'll just insert that down into the head.
This white eyebrow thing is just a very thin slit of the white material cut off, just a real thin piece of it glued on with the little bead here that was put on with the floral wire. I have to admit, he was a little bit tricky with working with this black, nice velvet, stretchy, that if you let the glue get too globby, it would come through, so I had to put little patches here and there. But overall, I think he turned out pretty good. So this is our penguin. This is how he turned out. Beautiful eyes. Even the little beak that can open up a little. Oh, don't bite me off. His little flippers. But as you can see, he's pretty much life-size and snuggly. So I hope you have fun with your penguin creating. Sure.